So I'm calling this project Pop Art Persephone. I wanted something that represented me and not do such a traditional take on the mold. So there you go. I about nearly jumped out of my skin when I first saw this mold because I love faces and I love heads, and this mold is like everything to me. So you can use a variety of mediums in the molds. I actually really like resin, and I use the 10-minute resin by Amazing Casting Resin, because the resin to me just gives the best detail. And this mold is so beautiful. Look at that amazing detail on that casting. This video is part of the IOD Summer 2024 release party. If you would like to check out what other talented creatives are doing with other products in this release, I will leave the link in the description box below, so click on that and let's get back to the video. So the canvases are just 8-inch by 8-inch canvases from big box store. I got them on super duper sale, and I pulled out all of my paints for this. So I used a combination of painterly paint from Debbie's Design Diary and some of my acrylics and some paint from I Love Hue, and just kind of whatever I had so that I could just play. So the frame that I'm going to be using, which I'm going to show you here in a minute, has a little bit of gold on it, and so I thought adding a little bit of gold to the edges of the canvases would kind of sort of pull that all together. So painting each one of these, there's 4 of them, is completely tedious, but it was beautiful weather, so I sat out on my deck with all of my paints around me and listened to the birds chirping in the distance and painted away, and I was in my happy place. I will absolutely be using this mold again. I just have to decide where I want to use her, because let's face it, she be fancy and she needs something fancy and cool. And I think the next time I do it, I will do maybe a little bit more of a traditional take with her, like paint her white or gold leaf her, or just do something completely different. I did think she looked a little bit like she was getting her high school yearbook picture taken with the black edges, like she was wearing one of those capes. And so I decided to just experiment with some gold leafing. It probably would have been a little bit easier for me to just use some of that same gold gilding wax that I used on the frames, but I don't gold leaf a lot and thought this was something that I could play with. I thrift a lot, and big frames like this is something that I pick up all the time when I see them. This one was only $4.99, which was a huge bargain. It didn't have any art in it. It came just like that. So I needed to cut a back panel. I just went to big box store and got a piece of like beadboard because it was really thin, and I knew that it would fit inside the frame. After I painted it black, my girl child actually is the one who said, "Mom, it needs a little something, something. You need to do something more to it." So I had just picked up this handy dandy new tool, again, at a big box store, and I thought this would be a fun place to use it to give me that spatter effect. You can do that with a regular brush though too. So I'm avoiding the rest of the project because it involves math, and I don't really feel like doing math. In order for me to get the canvases on the thing in the middle, I have to measure and find the midpoint, but do it from the back and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm just gonna sit outside for a while and not do the project that's due. now. I'm not really sure why I thought that just gluing these on was going to be enough, and I really didn't even put a lot of glue on there. I'm not really sure where my head was at with that, so I did re-glue, but also decided to screw them in from the back. So I'm screwing through the backing sheet into the wood part of those little canvases. I finished off the back of my artwork with just some brown craft paper, reattached the hanging hardware, and now it was time to glue the girls onto the canvas. I use E6000 all the time, but I usually use the E6000 in the silver tube, and this was a little bit different. And of course I didn't read the directions because I'm like, well, I use E6000 all the time. How hard could it be? It's just glue. Yeah, you'll see what happens. I hung this up to get some pictures, and one girl started falling off. So I went back and reread the directions and had to re-glue all of them onto the canvases. I mean, is this something that everybody's going to have in their house? No, it's not. But it was super fun to do. I think that it pays homage to Andy Warhol, and I love it.